Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Brenda. I'm an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. Today is Mindful Monday. And on Mindful Mondays, we try to take some time just for ourselves to sit in this moment. Zentangle is the perfect vehicle to get us into our mindfulness mode. And I am going to go through all 8 steps of the magical Zentangle method of drawing. And we are going to begin with step 1. Step 1 is gratitude and appreciation. And in this step, we can be grateful. We can appreciate the time that we have for ourselves today. We can appreciate the tools and the materials that we have to use today. So let's do a simple step 1 today. And we are going to just take 3 deep breaths. We are going to think of something we're grateful for. And then we're going to move on. So let's go ahead and get settled into our chairs or wherever you happen to be, and try to be alert and straight. As we inhale, we're going to get tall. And as we exhale, we are just going to relax everything down. So first breath, breathing in and out. One more big breath in and out. Final big breath in, getting tall and out, and relaxing down. And now just let your breath fall into a natural breathing rhythm and pay attention to it. Just notice it. In and out. And now it's time to be grateful. What are you appreciating today? And once you have it, pay attention to how that feels. And as we draw today, if you ever reach a point where you need to stop and take a break, or you're just feeling a little flustered, just stop and take another big breath in and out. And remember that feeling of gratitude. And then we'll be ready to begin again. And that, precious friends, is all there is to step 1, gratitude and appreciation. So before we move on to step 2, I just want to show you and talk a minute about the tools that we are going to use. We are beginning by reminding you that there is always opportunity to embellish your tangles today. Our little bijouism for the day. So the next thing I want to talk about is our Zentangle tile. This is a 3.5-inch square Zentangle tile. It is made of a really beautiful watercolor paper. I'm going to be drawing on it with a Sakura Micron PN pen. PN stands for plastic nib, and that is a sturdier nib, and I happen to have a heavy hand, so I appreciate a sturdier nib. It also makes a fatter line, a wider line, and I'm okay with that. But if you prefer a finer line, you can go down to a micron 01, or even an 03 would be a little bit thinner than the PN pen. So I'm going to also use a pencil. I have a little Zentangle pencil. They're shorter just for comfort, but you can use any pencil. And I also have a tortillon, which I am going to use to blend graphite when we get to step 6. Okay, so step 2 are the corner dots. And we do this in pencil, and we simply draw a dot in each of the 4 corners of our tile. I turn my tile as I do that so that my wrist is a little more comfortable. Step 3 is the border, and all we do for that is to connect the 4 dots to create a border. Now, step 4 is our string. Today I'm going with a simple X. That's just a line across from each corner to the opposite corner. And so I have 4 spaces to put my patterns or my tangles. Now I'm finished with my pencil for the moment, and I'm picking up my PN pen once again, and we are moving on to the tangles. Now, one of the characteristics of practicing the Zentangle method and Zentangle is that they're unplanned. And typically I plan when I do a video. And today I thought I might focus on the unplannedness, if you will, of Zentangle by taking and just opening up my book and finding a different pattern on each page to use in each of my 4 spaces. So I'm going to begin. You can't see my book, it's off screen, and that's okay. And I've just turned it to a page, and the tangle I'm going to draw is Cooley. Actually, I'm going to turn it over and write it down. And that is spelled Kule. And it's got this umlaut kind of thing. I don't know if that's what it is. That's what it looks like to me. It takes a spiral like in Printemps, but we use a different shape for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in this top triangle here. Now, Cooley begins like Crescent Moon does with a half circle. And then we turn that into a spiral. Spiraling inward. I kind of have a lot of space between these, so there's no mistakes, remember? Okay, and I'll just put another one here so they're all touching. They don't have to, but I just thought I would do it that way. So the next row, again, in kind of crescent moon fashion, we do in the center from the middle of one, we're making a second row on top. It kind of alternates, and then okay, I've messed up my Cooley, but you know what? There are no mistakes, right? So I think I might have to use a Bronx cheer to cover it up. I can do that. So this is how it's done. So we do this half moon shape, but we stop short so that we can do the spiral. And we go down in between as we do that. I think I'm going to be okay with that. Now I do have some that I messed up here to start with, and I also found myself touching instead of leaving a space to aura, but remember there are no mistakes and it's going to be fine. So I'm done with the first one, coolly. Now let me open my book again to a different page. Okay, so this one is a border tangle. But the cool thing about border tangles is that you can stack them in a space and fill it up. So this is the tangle Avril. And we'll just put that here in this space next to Cooley. And we begin with our border. And then an aura. Now I'm going to make another stripe border here. And another one here. Okay, so we have our rows for our tangle Avril. The next step is to do some X's. Okay, so we have the next step, and now that we have our X's, we are going to put a line down the center of each one, to each one of our diamonds, if you will. Point to point. And then we are going to fill in with just aura lines, one on the side of each one. Pick a side. I don't believe it matters which one you choose. Okay, I think that is good for now. Oh, I did it. I made a mistake again. Well, this is my day. See, this is what happened when it's unplanned. But that's okay. I've got this side on this one and that side on the other two. So I guess I'm just going to leave it. It'll be my own little special pattern. The next step, I'm going to turn my tile, and then I am going to draw same thing is these aura lines in the triangles, but they're going the opposite direction as the first ones we drew. We are going to draw these in the triangles on both sides. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to do is in these aura spaces between each of these rows, we are going to make them circles, little round circles. Okay, mine's a little weird because I did it wrong, but there's no mistakes, so maybe I didn't do it wrong. Okay, moving on to the next tangle. So I'm flipping my page and I have Radical is one of the tangles on this page. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and use that. Radical, let me write it on the back. This tangle is a filler tangle, a texture tangle. Actually, I think it's a texture tangle, but you can use it for a filler tangle. And what I want to do in my triangle space here, though, is I'm going to get my pencil back out. And I'm going to draw, actually, let me put it here. I'm going to go ahead and draw some lines inside my triangle. I'm using my pencil. That's okay. And I am going to, you know what, maybe I'll do a few more pencil lines here. That should be good enough. Okay, so now I'm going to draw Radical. I feel like a wascally wabbit. And I am going to start up here and just under the pencil line. And I think I'm going to do back and forth. And the trick with this pattern is just take your time and go very slow. And I could have done just one big triangle, but I think this will be more interesting. So that's why I added the pencil lines. And then I'm going to change direction and do the next triangle space. Just going back and forth. Turn it again. And these last couple of triangle spaces are a little bit bigger. But just go slow and steady. Okay. We have our 3 patterns. And the 4th pattern we're going to do, is fescue, because that's what came up on the page. Now, fescue is an organic pattern, so it's going to be quite a bit different from the rest of these, but it's going to bring a little bit of drama into our tile as well, because there's some solid black here. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to do my fescue a little different today. Doing a little bit of a wobbly line. And I'm going to fill in the top. And I'm going to make these fescue kind of match my space with my little shaky lines to give it some interest. Okay. I kind of like that. It gives it, you know, that it fills the space and it's more regular, if you will, because it follows that triangle shape there. I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool. So we're finished with step 5 now, the tangles. And we are moving on to step 6, which is the shading. So we have our 4 patterns. I did not write fescue on the back. Let me do that. Shame on me. I'll write it here. Fescue. Okay, so now I'm getting my pencil out. And we are going to begin our shading with Coulis, because that's where we started. And so we are going to go ahead and we are going to kind of put a little line of graphite between each of these rows. And because I tend to overdo the graphite, I am just putting it kind of in the corners. In the V's. So, get my tortillon out now. Blend this out and see how this looks. Now, there's always more than one way to shade our tangles. And I'm always showing you usually one way. So just keep that in mind. If you have a different way you like to shade, that's perfectly fine. This is your piece of art, so you shade it however you like. See, by putting it in just in a triangle, I have enough, but not too much, I think. Still have enough white space. These are little tips I have had to learn over the years because of my heavy hand. And I'm just gonna kind of fill this empty space in here with shading just because. Okay, so that is our Coulis shaded. So back to my pencil, we are going to do our Avril. And I like to do inside each of these aura lines. So that's what I'm going to start with. This really is a pretty simple way to shade Avril, and we don't have to get crazy with every pattern that we shade. It does not have to be terribly complex. Now I am kind of do it from this side to the edges too here. And I think I'm going to leave it at that for Avril. Okay, now for Radical. This is kind of a fun one to shade. So I'm going to shade one side of each one of these triangles. And it's going to be different for each one so that we have some contrast. I guess we'll do it this way. So as we blend it in, we pull it inward to the space we're blending it. So I put on one side of this triangle space, so I'm blending it into this triangle. Pull it down there. Pull it down there. A little easier to see on these smaller triangles than it is on the bigger ones. Maybe I will also shade these on this side, this edge piece here. Still get some dimension there. Okay, so that is our radical shaded. The only thing we have left now is our fescue. And fescue, I'm not getting my pencil out for it. I have a lot of graphite, as you can see here on my tortillon. So I am going to begin just with the line across the bottom. And this is just the graphite from the border that we drew down when we started. Okay. And now, if you want, you can just put a little bit of graphite kind of mirroring or giving the same shape, if you will, as the dark tips of our fescue. And it's not very exact, as you can see here. So I've got like this little smudge underneath or to the side of each one of these little fescue tops. And what I'm doing now is just kind of taking each one and blending it a line that meets the stem. That makes it just to look a little different, and I like it a little bit better. They're not just things floating out there, they're attached to something. So that's very simple shading for fescue. I don't think we need anything more for that. So I think we are done with step 6. I'm putting my tortillon away, picking my pencil back up. Step 7 is to initial and sign our piece. Now we initial on the front. I am going to use my chop for my initials. My chop is just an artist mark that mine happens to be stylized version of my initials. I'm kind of looking for a spot to put it as I turn my tile around. So I can just put it here to the side. Okay, so it's going to be a pretty simple one today. I usually add at least 3 perfs, little black dots underneath. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to date it. Zentangle gives me a couple lines on my paper to do that. I'm going to date it, but I always date mine off camera, so I'll do that off camera, and then I'm going to sign it. Now we've already named our 4 patterns or tangles, but I'm going to also put a note on here that I did draw this tile for my Mindful Monday 73. And step 8 is to appreciate again. So here's where we take some time to be grateful that we took some time. Be grateful that you took this time for yourself today. If you drew along, that's awesome. I would love to see your artwork if you did. But just appreciate what you've done. You know, hold your tile out at arm's length in front of you and turn it from side to side and see how you like it. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I truly do. And I hope to see you back here on another video. So until next time, as always, be you and be happy.